Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. And as I record this on Sunday, November 3rd, we are less than a week away from Plaid Saturday 2. That's right. So, next Saturday, November 9th, will be Plaid Saturday 2, the Create a Competitor tournament that will be held in Louisville, Kentucky at Comic Book World. The store will open at 11 a.m. The tournament should start at 1 p.m. It is $40 at the door if you register on SRG Universe's website, srguniverse.com, under special deals. I believe it's the first under special deals. If you register now, it'll only be $30. For registering, you will get, for pre-registering rather, you will get a $10 in-store credit for the Comic Book World, 3 promo cards, and of course you'll be getting the discounted rate at $30 instead of $40. There will be 5 to 7 Swiss rounds, depending on the number of players in the tournament. They will cut to a top 16, and if there is a tie among multiple players for spot number 16, everyone will get in. They will make a cut to a top 8 from there, so if they have to do triple threats, whatever, to get down to a top 8, they will cut to a top 8, then 4, 2, and the finals. The top 8 so the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals will all be best of 3 matches. In the quarters and semis, the third game will be a random stipulation. The finals will also be a best of 3 match, with the main event being the stipulation for the third match. There's going to be an injured list of this tournament. The following competitors will not be able to be played: Immortal Warrior, Aero Lipstick, EC3, General Manager John Calais, and Grim. All other competitors are legal for the tournament. Plaid Saturday will also feature an Underworld Championship defense. The current LFF Underworld champion, Kirk Polka, will take on the 2019 Gen Con Underworld Tournament winner, Thomas Gordon. So I'm looking very forward to Plaid Saturday. This show started just before Plaid Saturday last year. Was the first big tournament I went to as the host of this show. I'm looking forward to going back. I'm looking forward to seeing many of the faces. There will also be, hosted by Alan Hawkins, Reverend Robert Torn, and Michael Bailey, Anarchy's son, a tournament the night before, so that is November 8th, at the Masonic Lodge in Jeffersonville, Indiana. That will be a Gia-centric tournament. We are trying to get Gia over the hump, get her to 1,000 wins, so we can break the curse. If possible, I will try to go to that tournament. There may also be a tournament that's going to be held at Comic Book World the night before. I do not have too much information about that, but if you're down in that area, consider going to one of those 2 events on Friday night, and of course, obviously, Plaid Saturday. Store opens at 11, 1 p.m. start time. Last year, they had us fill out a deck list. I would not be surprised if they wanted to fill out a deck list this year, but I have not seen anything about that. But be prepared to write up a deck list if you go. I'm looking forward to that. There are also, of course, some promo cards that are coming out. A lot of that was spoiled on Talk of the Universe. I'll get into those in just a moment. Before I get into that, I'm going to thank Jacob Maynard, the gentleman who owns Comic Book World, who actually went and took a bunch of screenshots of the cards from Talk of the Universe that were spoiled, that I'm going to talk about in a few moments. So thank you to him for that and for the tournament. Really looking forward to being there. Currently going on this weekend, as I'm doing this recording, is SRG Takeover weekend. Both yesterday and today, various stores, various SRG Universe play groups were playing the Takeover event. The winner of each Takeover event will get a GM's favor that will allow you to essentially, assuming it is exactly like the last GM's favor from the Takeover weekends, winning the tournament will get you a GM's favor to turn whatever match you're playing into a match of the stipulation that you played under today. So, for example, my local group, we played under the Liger's Den stipulation. So, the winner of our tournament will receive a GM's favor to basically turn any match into a Liger's Den match. I like the idea of the Takeover weekend. It's something I enjoyed last time. It's something I enjoyed this time. The only criticism I would have for this one is I wish they would not have picked a time where it is so jam-packed. I mean, we're essentially coming off the last 2 weeks, the Bound for Glory weekend, followed by the FreeCon weekend, and then next week is Plaid Saturday 2. Especially with the general manager, John Clace, being suspended during that time, I feel like it was a lot to ask to try to fit a Takeover weekend in this weekend. I like the Takeover weekends. I'm glad we got to have them. I just wish we would have gotten a little more notice and that it would not have been such. I feel like it was too much to do in too tight a period. Because from what I understand, really there's not going forward for over the next 2 months. I mean, after Plaid Saturday, there's really, you've got PAX Unplugged, and then I think there's something else also going on PAX Unplugged on the West Coast. And then there's really nothing. There's the Create a Card tournament that they're running at CCC, but outside of that, I just feel like this was a tough time to try to fit another tournament. But I like it. I like the Takeover games. I like to see them do another one, but again, maybe just the spacing, I think, could have been a bit better. All right, well, now let's talk about some of the spoilers from Talk of the Universe this week. Now, some of these we'd actually talked about before on the show. These aren't really spoilers. Nemesis, we discussed earlier. This is going to be a entrance card that will allow you to stop a non-follow-up finish that does not have a competitor logo on it, even if it can't be stopped, and draw a card. Again, I think this is going to be really strong in tag, especially because obviously this is going to one of your best tag team finishers is double death drop. This is going to let you stop double death drop. If you're playing somebody like Pretty Boy Snow, which we could talk about, that recently came out. Somebody like Drew Gulak or AR Fox, it only has the one finisher, so it's going to have to use additional generics. This is going to be strong against those type competitors. Right now, Double the Fun and the Moneymakers each only have one finish, so they're definitely going to be using generic finishes. So Nemesis would be really strong against them until they get other finishes. But I like Nemesis a lot as an entrance card. Especially, and I forgot to mention this, in any kind of steel chain or TLC or tables match, and presumably ladders match when that comes out. Because obviously all the, TLC, ladder finishes, tables finishes, chain finishes, steel chain finishes, all of those are non-logo. So if you're going to play in one of those matches, if you're playing, say you're going for the Hardcore Championship, Nemesis is going to be a great card because it's going to allow you to stop, a TLC finish. I think it'd be a solid choice to use to try to go up against the Hardcore Champion. But Nemesis, it's really strong. We talked about El Lama Enmascarada Senor. That was spoiled, of course, on a Talk of the Universe. The finishes have come out for 3 finishes. The strike finish, I believe it's pronounced Guanaco Patada. Your skills are +1 for each strike your opponent has in play. Shuffle the same number of cards from your discard pile into your deck and draw 1 card. I like that a lot. Obviously, it's dependent on your opponent. Hopefully your opponent has strikes in play. Usually they will. But +1, +2 to all skills. If it's if you have a bunch of cards lit up, you can be +5, +6 to all skills. This could be theoretically give you a guaranteed win at Crowd Mirror 1 or Crowd Mirror 0 in a stipulation match. The grapple finish is the Alpaca Lucha de Cuello. +3 to power. Add all grapples from your discard pile to your hand. If your opponent breaks out, put 1 grapple from your hand into play. Again, that could be very strong. The power on this competitor is a 5, so this is going to bump your 5 up to 10, give you 2 10s. Then the last finish is, I believe it's pronounced Urchuchule Domini. Of course, it's finished submission. +1 to your skills for each submission you have in play. So it's going to count itself. So immediately when you throw it down, it's +1 automatically. And if your opponent played to stop this turn, his card's also a lead. I would probably run Strength in Numbers in this deck. Because for this competitor's gimmick, Llama Enmascarada Señor, the gimmick says once per turn, when your opponent stops a grapple, you may play 1 lead or follow-up submission. So if I play a grapple, my opponent stops it, I can throw my Strength in Numbers lead and then throw my finish after, because the submission finish says it counts as a lead if my opponent stops. The opponent stops a grapple, so I'll be able to throw it. So if I throw Strength in Numbers and the finish submission, I'm now +2 to all my skills. Which is, that's incredible. That's basically, that's better than that's essentially that's better than sharpshooter. It's a sharpshooter where we get +2 to every skill. I think that'd be a great combo for this guy. But yeah, so we talked to him. New competitor, released in a alt art version. There's going to be a full set, but this coming out right now is just the competitor card. It's called Rainbow Girl. When your opponent rolls power for their turn roll, draw 1 card. Is the gimmick. The skills are power 6, technique 10, agility 9, strike 8, submission 5, and grapple 7. So just a solid gimmick. You're gonna draw a card every time you roll your next to last skill. Nothing wrong with it. With her, if I was gonna play her right now, probably run it as my finishes. I'm thinking leapfrog for her. Add an agility 9 to get +1. It makes your agility 10, you get 2 10s. You bump your 5 to an 8. And I hadn't really thought about the others, but that to me, she's a leapfrog candidate for sure with no finishes. Of course, they talked about the new alt art, Reverend Robert Torn. It's exactly, all the cards are the same thing. It's just a slightly different art style. Of course, there's Sean Loeb, the collector they put out. I can't recall if we talked about the lobectomy, his finish submission. We'll talk about it now. It's +2 to technique, +1 to submission. When this card is in your discard pile, your power is +1 during your turn rolls. Now, this doesn't trigger his gimmick because it only counts on cards in play, which is why I mentioned something about the title card earlier, where if he had a championship, he'd be getting +3 instead of +2. It turns out because those cards aren't considered in play, that actually won't trigger his gimmick. So I was wrong when I brought that up about the title card. Sisters in Blood. I believe we talked about Sisters in Blood. I remember we had a little trouble reading it. It's a little easier to read now. It's power 18, technique 10, agility 14, strike 20, submission 16, grapple 12. When you hit a strike, bury 2 cards in a player's discard pile. During your turn, when you hit a submission,
Your opponent discards one card in their hand. I believe I could read. We talked about that. Nothing new to add here with this. We have a new competitor that's a roller derby style female competitor, Velvet Assassin. You give her stats. Power 9, Technique 6, Agility 8, Strike 10, Submission 7, Grapple 5. When you bump, choose one card your opponent has in play and discard it, or bury one card in their discard pile. It's very similar to the Kenny Omega gimmick, although you can trigger it on any stat, not just your highest stat. Also, the bury one card in the discard pile is nice because it allows you to get rid of a spotlight card that's giving them some sort of a bonus. So that's actually a very nice gimmick. There's one put out the finish grapple, the 5-star backbreaker. +2 to technique, +3 to grapple. When your opponent has 0 cards in play, +4 to technique and grapple instead. So as of right now, it would bump her technique to 8 and her her grapple to 8. So it'd give you 2 8s. But if the bonus kicks in, so it's +4, it's going to give you a 10 and a 9. So that's very nice. They put out Wooly Bully. Of course, we talked about Wooly Bully last week. I still think the two Phenomenal One finishers are going to be last week. But I still think the two Phenomenal One finishers are going to be outstanding with Wooly Bully. There's going to be a new version of Slash Gordon. Of course, we've had the original Slash Gordon and an Altart Slash Gordon. This Slash Gordon is different both in the terms of the stat line as well as the gimmick. Now, I'll give you the original, I'll give you the new one. The original, and they're actually very similar in art, the original and the new one. The biggest difference is essentially the new one is wearing a leather jacket, a red leather jacket. But otherwise, they're very very similar in art. Logo is the same, so you're going to be able to play the finishes from both versions on each other. So now the first version and the Altart vertical version, I believe, have both the same gimmick and I believe the same stat line. So I'm going to give you off the original. The stat line's Power 9, Technique 6, Agility 8, Strike 7, Submission 10, Grapple 5. The gimmick is when your opponent stops a submission, they bury one card in their hand, then look at the top card of their deck, you may bury it. That is the original gimmick for Slash Gordon. This new version of Slash Gordon has a Power of 8, a Technique of 6, an Agility of 7, a Strike of 9, a Submission of 10, and a Grapple of 5. So the Power, Agility, and Strike stats are all different on this new version. And the gimmick says when you hit a submission, choose one card your opponent has in play and bury it. So this is another card that's going to remove cards from your opponent's field of play. Obviously, you're going to want to play, I would say, at least one or more spotlight submission cards if possible. Just so you can essentially, hit the submission, move the card, then eventually bring that back to hit it again over and over to continually move cards. These finishes all have the same name, and let me see if they have improved them at all. The new one says your finish rolls are +1 for each strike you have in play. Your opponent's breakout rolls are +1 for each. Okay. There is a change. The original says your opponent's breakout rolls are +1 for each card they have in play. The new one says your opponent's breakout rolls are +1 for each stop card they have in play. If stopped, add this card to your hand. So they're almost exactly alike, except the original gives +1 to your opponent's breakout roll for each card. The new one is each stop they have in play on the strike. So I like the new one better. The grapples are the same, +1 to technique, +2 to grapple. When your opponent has 0 cards in play, this card is also a follow-up. And the submission, the new one is improved. The original is +3 to technique, +1 to agility, +2 to strike. Your opponent's second breakout roll is +1. Their third breakout roll is +2. The new one, same stat bonuses, 3 to technique, 1 to agility, 2 to strike. But it says your opponent's third breakout roll is +1. So yeah, the new finishes are superior to the old finishes, absolutely. So I don't see any reason why you would run the. I think the new Slash Gordon is going to be an improvement of the old one entirely. So that's it for the new competitors. Well, you take it back. There's two other new competitors that came out. Number one is the new. There's a new version of the New World Order tag team card. It's an alt art, but it's not just an alt art because it does the new art features of the Phenomenal One and Lady Baba. It also has the Phenomenal One and Lady Baba's logo on it. So whereas the original New World Order could be played with the New World Order finishes, as well as Wooly Bully and Scott Gordon finishes, the new one can be played with the New World Order finishes, Phenomenal One finishes, and Lady Baba finishes. Otherwise, the gimmick's exactly the same. I believe the stats are exactly the same. We had a card come out for Pretty Boy Snow. I believe we talked about this, but if we didn't, Power 10, Technique 9, Agility 8, Strike 5, Submission 6, Grapple 7. When you roll Strike for your turn roll, draw one card, your next turn roll is +2. It's similar to Brian Cage, where his is when you roll Power. Of course, the difference is Brian Cage, his power is 10, so if you're rolling Power, you're going to get the you're going to win turn roll and you're getting +2 to the next. This one, you're almost certainly losing the turn roll to get the +2. What's also nice is it lets you have the option to draw one card instead. So if you need to draw, you can opt to do that. This actually lets you draw 2 on a bump if you bumped on your 5. The Pretty Boy Snow has no finishes, but there are plenty of generic finishes you can run, and like I also pointed out, this would be a good down Riverlock card to run. His technique's 9, so down Riverlock would essentially do +1 to his technique, give him 2 10s, bump his 5 to an 8. Very nice card, Pretty Boy Snow. There are also 4 cards just for the deck. Well, not 4, there are quite a few cards. The first one I'll talk about is the Boss Rate Chop. Obviously, this is sort of based on the Super Show Dojo. It's Elite Strike number 7. Text is, your opponent's next turn roll is -1, or if you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent, they discard one random card from their hand. It's a decent card. It's a decent, solid card. -1, reducing your opponent's next turn roll is great. It's very nice. I like to call these the Anthony Booker Mania cards. Anything that makes opponent's turn roll go down, then your total roll go up. And it's got a little hand control in it too. Of course, one of the promo cards last week was the Strike version of Thompson Top Rope, and I'd almost run that instead in this slot. One of the promo cards, Taunting Sheep, the lead grapple number 11, is actually, yeah, that's right. You can't run. They're different numbers. That's right. This is a number 7. The other one's a number 10. So yeah, you obviously can't run one of the places yet. So sorry for that, folks. That's right. It's 10, 11, 12 are the Tom from the Top Rope cards. They did put out the grapple version of that. The Taunting Sheep was going to be one of the promos for Plaid Saturday. The opponent's text turn roll is -1 for each grapple you have in play. Of course, it's going to count self, so it'll be automatically -1 once you play it. Other 2 promo cards are Strike Down. It's a follow-up Strike number 16. If you have another Strike in play, draw 2 cards. Very nice card. I think the card you would think about pairing with a Rolling Forearm. And, of course, Outsider Distraction. Number 19, Follow-Up Strike. You would have to forego an Elbow Strikes type card to play it, but it says your opponent cannot increase their turn roll. So, very good. A lot of opponents have pluses, have turn roll bonuses. This works against that, Outsider Distraction. And that is all the promo cards. There were some other cards they put out on top of the universe. Took it on the chin and Listen Up, Jack. But I feel like they've already spoiled those elsewhere. So I'm not going to cover them here. But that appears to be it for the new cards coming out. And I believe that is all the... Oh! I almost forgot. There's also been an announcement there's going to be a hardcore pack coming out at some point. What's going to be in it, I don't know. There was a little bit of a spoiler that Steve Resk put on his Facebook timeline where it looks like he spoiled a logo for a competitor card. To me, it looks like the logo that he spoiled is going to be for Tommy Dreamer. I think it'd be really cool if we got a Tommy Dreamer card, especially with a hardcore set. We know they're going to put out a Sabu card. They released, showed off some of the art for the finishes for that card. We don't really know anything about it other than we've seen the art for both versions. Right, for both the competitor card and the finishes. But we don't know what that does, so I wonder if they're going to put out any other competitors. But I think that'd be... I also wonder if this is going to be maybe a hardcore set similar to the Sammy Marty set. The no DQ set. Maybe it's a hardcore set where it's just 2 competitors and 2 starter decks. That would be interesting if they did that. I'm looking forward to that coming out. They haven't said anything about when that's coming out other than just during the holidays. So that could be anywhere from late November to late December. But I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that comes out soon. I'd be interested in playing those cards. But I believe that's going to be it for the news I have for this week. Again, Plaid Saturday 2 next week. I'm looking forward to it. 1 p.m. at Comic Book World in Louisville, Kentucky. There'll be, again, other tournaments going on that weekend, Friday night. So I'd encourage if you're going down Saturday for that, maybe think about going down earlier and checking out those other events. Oh, I should bring this up too. Speaking of the Underworld match that's going to be part of the Plaid Saturday 2, there was a change announced to it that I should bring up and discuss here. So, Kirk Polka won the 2019 Origins Underworld Tournament using EC3. And so as a result of that, he got an opportunity at Gen Con to face off against Andrew Trebbing with EC3, and he was able to beat Andrew Trebbing and win the Underworld Championship as EC3. During that same Gen Con 2019, Thomas Gordon used, I believe it was Grim with Fireball to win the Underworld tournament there, and so that is why he has a match at Plaid Saturday against Kirk Polka for the Underworld Championship. They announced a decision on the last Talk of the Universe that they will not allow Kirk Polka or Thomas Gordon to use the competitors they won those tournaments and championships with in this match. Instead, Kirk Polka is going to have to use either Wooly Bully, either version, presumably the new one, or the Phenomenal one. And Thomas Gordon is going to have to use Slash Gordon. Thomas Gordon, I'm assuming he's going to use the new Slash Gordon because that's what I would use. Kirk Polka has, I believe, I'm not sure if the deadline is this Wednesday or if it's Plaid Saturday, but he's under the deadline to choose which competitor, Wooly Bully or Phenomenal one, he's going to use at this championship. I'm not sure how I feel about essentially making players who are champions use ostensibly weaker cards to defend their championship. I'm not sure I kind of instinctively don't like the idea of saying, well, okay, you won the championship or you won the opportunity with this guy, but I don't like that you used this guy because I think this guy is a little too strong or a little too
overpowered, so we're just going to arbitrarily make you play your own competitor. I mean, I would not mind if they had me use DJ Outlaw instead of Shane Hurricane Helms, assuming I still get the Underworld Championship opportunity at Grand Gathering 2. But arguably, let's suppose I used DJ Outlaw in my tournament. The same in the tournament at Bound for Glory. If I have the same record with DJ Outlaw that I did with Shane Hurricane Helms, I wouldn't have even made the cut. So would I even deserve, if I'm going to have to play DJ Outlaw, would I even deserve the opportunity? Because DJ Outlaw wouldn't, because as a DJ Outlaw player, going 3-2 in the bullet rounds would not even have let me give me the opportunity to play for the finals. So I don't know. I just don't instinctively don't look. I understand the idea of EC3 might be too overpowered. Grim might be too easy to sort of manipulate. And so we don't really want those competitors in the game the way that the game has sort of evolved since those competitors have come out. The balance is not great with them. So I understand the desire to sort of get competitors like Immortal Warrior, Aerial Lipstick, Grim, EC3 out of competitive play because just balance-wise, they're not the best. But it's kind of rough to essentially say, okay, I played through this whole tournament, took on faced dozens of rounds, played off against a lot of competitors to make it to the top. It's hard enough to win any tournament anyway. Even if you're using a so-called, broken competitor, it's still hard to win tournaments. I mean, there are people who play EC3 or Grim that did not make it to the finals, did not win the finals, did not even win the championships. To then go, we're now going to make you play something weaker. It's kind of rough. But I understand the goal, but I don't know if that's the smoothest way to get to where you want to be. But that's my thoughts on the Underworld Championship, on essentially making them substitute for their own competitors. I get the idea why, but I'm not even sure. And also, is this going to basically make it so when you create your own competitor, are you almost going to have to essentially make that competitor as strong as possible? Whereas you might be inclined to do sort of a fun gimmick or an interesting gimmick instead, because like me with DJ Outlaw, if I play somebody that in a tournament, not DJ Outlaw, that they decide, because of the way the game has changed, that competitor now is going to be on an injured list or a banned list, and I have to now play DJ Outlaw instead, is that going to encourage people who make competitors to go, well, I better make sure that my gimmick and my stats, my finishes, are as strong as possible, because if I win a tournament with somebody who's not my competitor, there's a very strong chance they're going to make me change it to my competitor. So I better make sure my competitor is the best competitor possible, that practically unbeatable, because if I make him a fun competitor rather than a dominant competitor, I'm in danger of essentially losing my championship shot. I'm not sure, but those are just the thoughts I have that have come to my head as I'm thinking about this issue. And that's pretty much going to do it for the show. Let me go through the playgroup list, talk about give the contact information, and I believe wrap it up. So, here is the current list of playgroups as far as I know. If you would like your playgroup to be added to this list of playgroups, if you'd like to make a comment, leave some feedback, ask a question, there's a few ways you can do it. You can reach out to me directly through Facebook Messenger. You can send the show an email we are outlawmudcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a direct message on Twitter. We are at Outlaw Mudcast on Twitter. So here is the list. Starting with my own local promotion, Buckeye Championship Wrestling. We play Saturday evenings, 6 p.m. at the Guard Tower in Columbus, Ohio. To our north, Rust Belt Wrestling of America plays at Recess Games in North Olmsted, Ohio, Monday nights at 6 p.m. LFF Tri-State plays at a Store of Fire and Dice in Lynbrook, New York, Thursday nights around 7 p.m. City of Champions Wrestling plays at Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania. Usually Sundays around noon. Sometimes see them play Saturdays. And again, they'll be hosting a Create a Card tournament in mid-December coming up. I believe it's the week after Plax Unplugged. I'll give you the information for True American Heroes. It's Frontline Games in Clarksville, Tennessee, Saturdays at 6. I have not heard a lot much about them, so they might not still be doing it. But that's last information I have on them. Florida Cardboard Wrestling wrestles at House Rules Gaming in Kissimmee, Florida. New Order Wrestling wrestles at a place called Pandemonium. I don't know where that is or what day or time they have their matches, but that's the information I have on them. I'd reach out to them for date and time. Destiny Games hosts a Super Show group at the store Destiny Games, of course, in Westland, Michigan, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. And the Skull Group hosts the games at Fanfare Comics in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the second and fourth Sunday of every month from 12 to 2. Sin City Wrestling plays out of Atomic Trading in Las Vegas, Nevada, Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Wizards Card Championship Wrestling plays at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games in Norman, Oklahoma. I check the store for dates and times. Revolutionary Championship Wrestling has a few different locations. They play at New England Comics in New Bedford, Massachusetts, Wednesdays from 3 to 6 and Saturdays from 11 to 4. They play at Tabletop Games in Westport, Massachusetts, Tuesdays from 3:30 to 6. And they play at Game King in Fall River, Massachusetts, usually Sundays at around 5 p.m. Island Life Wrestling hosts games at Oakdale, New York's East End Gaming. They do so Wednesdays and Fridays. Outpost Wrestling plays at Outpost Games in Glendale, Arizona, Saturdays from 11 to 2. Meeple People Wrestling plays out of Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey. Check store for dates and times. And then the Alternate Universes stores in Pennsylvania, they have two locations that host games. They have a location at in East Norton, Pennsylvania, the AU Bluebell store. And they have a location in Holmes, Pennsylvania, at the AU Holmes store. The Holmes store, Sundays at noon. The Bluebell store, I don't have any information beyond that. Just check the store for dates and times. And of course, the newest group I have is ACCW out of Georgia. They play at Heroic Gaming in Roswell, Georgia, every Monday from 7 to 10 p.m. And the last Saturday of every month, they play at Gigabytes Cafe in Marietta, Georgia. And that's going to be it for the play groups and for the show. One last thing I need to bring up. Earlier this week, I posted on the forums about the possibility of joining a faction. I had an invitation to join a faction, and I kind of wrestled with the decision to join a faction because I never want people to doubt that what I'm telling them on this show is my real opinion, that I'm not, essentially giving you a bias because of, affiliations or loyalties elsewhere, that I'm telling you what I really think. I also never want this show to essentially be, maybe phrase it a little differently. I don't want people to say, I can't come on the show, I can't talk to you about things because we're in a faction that's a rival with your faction, we're in a feud, I'm not going to be a guest in your show because we're feuding. I never wanted to have that happen. So I've always been wary about aligning with things like that because I don't want that to affect the show. And so I put out a post asking what you, the listeners, think about the idea of myself joining a faction. Most of you were fine with it. Most of you thought, look, that's fine. You should be able to have fun, playing. If that's we're not going to hold that against you. We're not going to the concerns I have. You're not going to think I'm lying to you or spinning because I'm in a faction, and I appreciate that. I did have a few people who argued that no, I shouldn't join a faction. I should remain neutral, and I understand those concerns too. Those are the same concerns I had. And after sort of weighing all that, looking at the faction itself that invited me, weighing the pros and cons, I've decided at this point I am not joining the faction. I am right now going to remain independent. It's just going to be me. But thank you, everybody, for your feedback. I took all of it into consideration in making this decision. Thank you to the unnamed faction. I will not release who that was that invited me for their sake. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. But as of right now, the best fit for me is going to be to remain independent. So, for all my listeners out there, thank you for your input. Thank you for listening. And good day. Hello, this is Michael Kirk. I just wanted to come back because a couple things happened while I was doing the editing. Number one, I noticed I kept saying leapfrog when I meant frog splash, so I just wanted to make that correction. I'm talking about the finished frog splash, the skill finish that has a skill requirement of an 8 or greater agility. That's +1 to agility, +3 to your lowest stat, add 1 card from each square palette to your hand. I kept calling that leapfrog, it's frog slash. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the event that Alan Hawkins and Michael Bailey were holding that was going to be the Gia convention, which I believe is going to be a Play Pure Gia event, is no longer going to be held at Jeffersonville, Indiana. It's going to be held at Comic Book World. They've moved that to Comic Book World. It'll be at Comic Book World on Friday night, the 8th of November. So I just wanted to get that out there. It's going to be November 8th, the night before Plaid Saturday, Comic Book World, Gia. Let's get 1,000 Gia wins and break the curse. That's all from me. Once again, thank you.